You're on the intersection. I'm Michael Popok, and you're on the Midas Touch Network. This is election night in America as Donald Trump tries to flex his muscles, a little Trump flex, to see how far MAGA alt-right he can drag the Republican Party in primaries. To primary people who might have had a shot in the general election, but with Donald Trump requiring fealty and loyalty and litmus tests and marching out orders to his MAGA contingent, you've got people like Tom Massey, one of the very reasons that we are trying to obtain dignity for the Epstein survivors. He looks like he's out now in Kentucky. But there's a silver lining to what, however the chips fall tonight, and we'll cover about as much of it as we can. A couple of Georgia Supreme Court seats, hopefully with Barack Obama's help, will get flipped. But there's a silver lining as Trump forces his party hard right about what that means for the general election. Who is going to run for the Republican Party, I guess, is interesting. But when new polling by the Times Siena poll just come out that says the anonymous Democrat, no name, against the anonymous Republican for a congressional seat, before you even add in what they stand for, who they are, what their party platform is, the Democrat is beating that Republican by 11 points, almost double in the last 3 months. That shows you the political will, the voter ire against Donald Trump and MAGA. And what is the lesson that Donald Trump learns? What's the takeaway from polling numbers that show he's in the trash can of history? With double-digit swings in the Latin vote, Hispanic vote, Black vote, women vote, under 30 vote, independent vote, all thoroughly against him by 3 and 4 times a margin of error in polling. What's his takeaway? Go harder right. Go harder MAGA. Go hard or go home. How about go hard and go home? That's what we're hoping for come the midterms. And so I am not unhappy. I mean, it's sad that people who on certain issues were moderates and patriots, and I didn't agree with Massey on everything, but certainly on the key things around the Epstein investigation, I supported him. and others are out. You know, I don't know what's going to happen to John Cornyn in Texas. Is Ken Paxton we'll just leave it at that. Is Ken Paxton the Attorney General? He of corruption and infidelity in marriage. Is he going to take the Senate seat or the primary? Maybe. But I think that opens the door, doesn't it, for a guy like Tallarico? See, the more likable, moderate, talking about, or progressive, talking about issues that matter to the American people, like affordability, dignity in healthcare, dignity in housing, dignity in food, dignity in the supermarket, at the gas pump. The more we talk about that and get people back onto Obamacare and get people to have mass transit and to be able to have a dignified way to pay for elderly loved ones who need care, or children who need care, or school, etc. And the more we have that conversation with America, instead of how many different ways can I screw the American people out of taxpayer dollars, which seems to be the only thing Donald Trump cares about. When we talk about progressively the other topics tonight, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. So it is a silver lining. I'm not smoking hopium. Go hard right, MAGA. You go. You do you. You do you. And we, with a contract with America, the party who makes the best contract with America is going to win. The one that focuses on rooting out corruption, returning checks and balances to an out-of-control executive branch who lives and dies for the Constitution. There's my copy. Who believes in the American dream, but that people need help getting it. Who believe in capitalism, but regulated. Who believe in a meritocracy, but help and a support system and social safety net for those that go into other professions and occupations that don't make billions and billions of dollars with AI data centers in the middle of cornfields, but are school teachers and firefighters and work in churches and in mosques and in temples and do the salt of the earth work. That means you're an American and you're an American patriot. I'll take that party in our two-party system any day over the thing that, to paraphrase, sounds like a cult. Who else? It's like following Jim Jones at Guyana. Who else would swallow and drink the Kool-Aid the way that MAGA is doing and follow Donald Trump? Here's a news alert. It's like a linear term. Here's a news alert, newsflash. Donald Trump's a short-termer. I don't just mean chronologically. I mean in terms of his political fortunes. He knows it. He's got months left on the clock before he will be completely useless and powerless. And he can tweet or have the human printer, social media post to his heart's content. But if the American people return the House and the Senate and give the gavel to the Democrats, he's dead and he knows it. So what are they doing in the meantime? Really extraordinarily unethical and fraudulent things, which we will cover on The Intersection. And I'm glad you're here. We got a great audience tonight. I'll be answering questions. That means for you, if you're interested, if you want to listen and watch, that's great. But if you're alive with me tonight, leave a, it's like a proof of life. I'll let you know I'm really live. Put a question. My team will catch it. And at some breaks, I'll be able to answer some of those questions. So election night in America, I think we'll do pretty well in Georgia. I think we'll get the right people through the primaries in certain of these states. And people that oppose Donald Trump are going to, by and large, get flexed out. And that's where we are. Now, the desperation, before I get to Todd Blanche's performance of self-immolation on national television under oath today, I mean, if people are not calling for his resignation after what happened today at the Senate, then you and I here on The Intersection should start the chant. Because he is feckless, he's ruthless, he's unethical, and he doesn't deserve to lead any Department of Justice. Whether the topic was the Epstein investigation, where he literally, we'll show you the clip in a minute, he literally shrugged and said, I don't know what you're talking about. Or lying under oath, I think, to the Senate about the terms and conditions of this IRS settlement slush fund thing, which I'll give you all the details on that matter. And then moments afterwards, posting on the DOJ website a half a paragraph that said, oh, by the way, those 10 years of audited tax returns where the Trump family may owe billions of dollars of unpaid taxes. We're gonna let that go. We're gonna waive it. He doesn't have the power to waive that. That's not even his department, literally. That's the Internal Revenue Service and the Treasury. That wasn't part of the settlement. It's outside of his powers and authority as head of the Attorney General's office, the Department of Justice. And look what they do. They do the first news cycle for Todd Blanche and the Department of Justice. We've got a settlement of a phony lawsuit in Florida that a judge was about to dismiss from her courtroom for being phony. You can't have Trump v. Trump. It's not a divorce on both sides of the case. She was about to dismiss it. Oh, no, we're going to settle the thing you're about to dismiss. We need it. We need to use you, Judge Williams. And I apologize. And I have appeared in front of Judge Williams. I know people who know Judge Williams. I'm sorry, but she got used. She got made a pawn. I was surprised. I thought she'd call everybody together right before she entered the order of dismissal. of the IRS case, Trump versus the IRS, and use her inherent authority to administer justice properly and get to the bottom with fact-finding about the phoniness, because she's being used. How do I know that? Because if you go on Legal AF Substack, you'll find the settlement agreement that starts with the case title and recites elements of the case, except leaves out the part about Judge Williams about to dismiss it. It says, at some point, the plaintiffs told us, the plaintiffs' lawyers working for Donald Trump told us that they're thinking about making this into a class action. A class action for a case that the judge is about to dismiss? And they never mentioned the dismissal. They never mentioned the judge raised jurisdictional questions. Oh, no. They needed the, as I've said from the moment one, they needed the cover of the phony lawsuit in order to do the settlement transaction behind the scenes. And at first, the announcement was $1.8 billion victim compensation fund. I'm like, okay. And if you look at the settlement agreement papers, which I have, and they're posted on Legal AF Substack, it says, and good news, everybody, Donald Trump and his family are not going to be taking any money from the victim compensation fund. No monetary gain for him. And that was the headline. Except the next day, I mean today, they posted a new document, which we caught on Midas and on Legal AF. Of course, Ben and I, there it is. Ben and I jumped on it as soon as we saw it. And it's not even buried. It's in paragraph C. And it says, oh, by the way, I'm going to enter into a release, which I don't have the power to do, of any tax return from the beginning of time until the date of this release. We're not going to go after it. We're going to leave on the table hundreds of millions, billions of dollars that Donald Trump and his family owe. How do we know that? Because of the leaked tax returns that are at the heart of the case that went to ProPublica and the New York Times, demonstrated over a long period of time that Trump and his hundreds of limited liability companies paid almost nothing in taxes. I assure my audience, whatever you paid, he paid 1/100th of that, if that. We're talking about $30,000 on billions of dollars earned. And that's why he was the subject of audits year after year after year. He claimed, I can't release the tax returns because I'm under an audit. And now, lo and behold, we get the plan. It took him 18 months. Congratulations, 18 months of misleading the American people. All you wanted, the needle in the haystack, was to get back into power and order your captured, unethical Department of Justice and order your Treasury Department, unethical, captured, and Internal Revenue Service and your own lawyers to enter into a deal, apparently at the last minute, or they forgot, to release the Trump family from all tax liability. Woo! I guess you couldn't run on that when you were running for your mandate in all the battleground states, right? You couldn't lead with that with the American people. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if I get back into office, you can kiss my tax-paying ass goodbye. I don't remember that in the campaign. Anybody remember that? Put that in comments. Yeah, I'm hot. Yeah, I'm pissed off because every dollar he doesn't pay, or every $1 billion he doesn't pay, it's another dollar that you and I and the taxpayers have to find to fund the government, to fund programs, to fund the social safety net, as he blows through and burns through $1,000 bills every second in Iran, in his fight with China, in all the other wars that he entered immediately after taking office, to try to become a wartime president. Well, if I'm a wartime president, that might help me domestically with my polling numbers. How's that going for you? Not well. If he thought that was good, I need to be war. We need to start a war. Then the tail will wag the dog. My polling numbers will go up. The country will rally around me. Okay. The country who doesn't have two pennies to scrape together or rub together because of your economic policies, right? And the polling numbers are fascinating because every month, like clockwork, he dropped and is dropping 1.5 to 2 points a month, every month, and doesn't recover. It's not bouncing around like he's up 4 points, he's down 6 points. It's just a straight, there it is. It's just a straight drop from beginning of the first term to tariffs, to the big, beautiful bill, to the National Guard crushing the soul of America, to the Epstein scandal, to election nights. I mean, boom, boom. Every month, it's remarkable. It's like watching a penny drop from a skyscraper. Boom, 58th floor, 40th floor, 30th floor, 20th floor. Where will it land? With the margin of error, he's already in the 20s, and with groups like independents, worse. He's in the teens with 30 and under voters. He knows it. That's why he's got to hurry up. It's a going out of business sale. You know what's a going out of business sale? He reminds me in a perverse way of, you know, those game shows or things where you win a chance they lock you in a department store and whatever you can grab in 20 minutes is yours. You know what I'm talking about? Or they stick you in one of those giant glass cylinders and $100 bills are floating around and you got to grab them. You got 2.5 minutes, whatever you can stuff in your pockets. That's what we're watching, right? Except Trump is locked in here with us. And what he's stealing is anything that's not nailed down. He's got his checklist. You don't think he's got his checklist? Political enemies, indictments and investigations make their life miserable. Check. Bitcoin. I want to make a lot of money in Bitcoin. I don't know what it is. Not sure how it works, but I want to make a lot of money in it. Check. I want to do better in the stock market. So I'm going to pump and dump. I'm going to mention things to pump up stock prices while my independent stock advisors are buying and selling companies that I believe in, including all the companies that I took to China with me. Check. Get rid of my tax liability for 10 years and all those past tax returns. Check. Get myself out from under all the criminal cases. Check. Have you noticed so far I'm about 10 or 12 items down, and I haven't talked about what's good for the American people or the public or public service once? Not once. This isn't a game. This is our democracy. It's at stake. And the cure for the common Trump is what? Voting. Vote mobilization. We can overcome every hurdle that Trump and MAGA have thrown in front of us. Remap the maps? Cares. You want to start with a 10-point lead? Great. We're going to beat you by 40 points in the House, 40 seats in the House. You want to keep screwing around and remapping and showing how racist your party is to try to eliminate black power in the South and demonstrate to the rest of us that, the pointy heads in the party should be wearing a sheet? Okay, go ahead. That'll turn the Senate over to the Democrats. You want to show fealty to Donald Trump? Go hard right. We'll meet in the middle or the progressive side and take the general election. See why this is the intersection of law and politics, folks? I'm glad you're here. So let me, now that I'm warmed up, let's get back to Todd Blanche, shall we? The acting attorney general. He's trying out. It looks like he's doing an elaborate, depraved game of limbo. How low will Todd Blanche go? Well, he's already hit rock bottom and he's starting to dig. His appearance, I love the serendipity of when these hearings happen. You would have thought the hearing was scheduled to talk about, the IRS settlement. No, it wasn't. It just happened to be the next day. So they file a $10 billion, for those that are coming to this story late, Trump files with his family a $10 billion lawsuit against his own Internal Revenue Service and Treasury Department, claiming that there was a leak of his tax returns by some leaker not related to Biden. It's not weaponization of the Department of Justice. It got leaked to the New York Times, who ran an award-winning series about it. They got all sorts of tax experts to review it and realize, as my daughter Francesca at 2 does when she's thinking, he didn't pay any taxes. And that pissed him off. He should have released those returns during his 2 campaigns for president. He's the only president in modern era never released his returns. So he was damaged. How are you damaged? To the tune of $10 billion? So Judge Williams gets assigned in Miami, my backyard. She looks around. She sees all government lawyers, except for the couple of private guys who work for Donald Trump. She said, where's the adversary process? We have a V in the middle. We need a plaintiff and a defendant that aren't colluding with each other. I have my doubts. Everybody start writing briefs, she said. DOJ, IRS, Trump's lawyers, and I'm going to go bring in another group of friends of the court, former judges and solicitor generals to guide me. You guys write a brief too. And she had her pen hovering over an order, I'm sure, of dismissal. And I said on Legal AF with Ben, they need that settlement as a fig leaf for consideration to exchange for a settlement. How are they going to settle without a lawsuit? Otherwise, it's just him robbing the Treasury. Well, that's where we're at, folks. They needed to hurry up and use her, and literally use her, and use her lawsuit to settle a case. And then we get the settlement agreement signed by Stan Woodward, former Jan 6 lawyer, who's now number 3 in the Department of Justice, the IRS, lawyers for Donald Trump. It's all Trump controlled. And the settlement agreement is good news, everybody. I'm not going to take a dime. $1,776,000,000 going into a fund. And then they love to try to stick it to the Democrats, except it got backfired on them during the Senate. They said, this is just like the settlement, the Barack Obama. They didn't say Barack Hussein Obama. That Barack Obama and the Obama administration entered into about settling with the Native Americans. Like, are you kidding me? Are you talking about the Kegel settlement, where Native Americans brought a real case in a real federal court about discrimination in getting loans from the Agriculture Department that was settled decades later by Obama's administration, that was overseen by a judge for real harm? That's what you're comparing, the cutting the judge out of a bad faith filed, not legitimate lawsuit to settle with your own, as you order it, own IRS, and the funds are not going to be overseen by a judge, but by a 5-person commission of Donald Trump and his picking. And you have Todd Blanche actually had the balls to say that out loud in the Senate today. In fact, there's a few chapters to today's testimony before the Appropriations Committee. Wait till he gets to the Judiciary Committee. One is everything about this settlement. One is everything about Epstein, and there's some other stuff as well. Like Hunter Biden could apply for money from the Victim Compensation Fund, according to him. He wouldn't rule out child molesters or people who assaulted the police. Everybody can apply, he effectively said. So we got the Epstein thing. We got the IRS settlement thing. And one thing before we get to that clip, because I did this reporting a couple days ago. Todd Blanche was told in 2025 by the ethicist that used to work at the Department of Justice that he needed to stay out of any matters involving Donald Trump personally and not be involved from an ethical standpoint. He was given that instruction. I assume he signed some sort of memo. Well, the agreement he just signed off on, including the new settlement part that absolves Donald Trump and his family of tax liability, is about Donald Trump personally. Hence my comment about an unethical head of the Department of Justice that should resign. Let's kick it off with Todd Blanche being grilled by people like Senator Van Hollen and Coons and others about this particular settlement. And one comment before we get to it. I keep winding up. Here's the pitch. You remember how Pam Bondi and Kash Patel brought burn books with them so they could burn the Senate? Yeah, the Senate has a learning curve. They figured out, and they brought their own burn books, and they're not getting burnt by the witness any longer. Let's play the clips about the IRS settlement.
You compared it to the Keepsiegel case. But I think you know full well that in that case, the settlement agreement was approved by a federal judge, including the payments to people who were not originally parties to the lawsuit. No federal judge has approved this fund, have they, Mr. Attorney General?
No, no federal judge did approve this.
So that's a big difference between this case and the case that you compared it to.
No, it's not.
Well, did a judge sign off on this case?
No.
A judge did sign off on the other one.
Yes, but your question was whether it's a big difference. It's not.
Of course it is, because that allows for an independent person to look at it rather than the
There was no independence. There was no independence. There was a single commissioner. A judge signed off on it. A judge had nothing to do with deciding the money.
There was a judge who looked at it and signed off on it. So to compare that case to this one is incredibly deceptive.
Thank you, Senator Collins. Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Attorney General, this is an outrageous, unprecedented slush fund that you set up. Simple question, will individuals who assaulted Capitol Hill police officers be eligible for this fund?
Well, as it makes plain, anybody is
just let me know if they're eligible for the fund.
As was made plain yesterday, anybody in this country is eligible to apply if they believe they're a victim of weaponization.
Mr. Attorney General, let me ask you this. Are there going to be rules that say that if you've assaulted a Capitol Hill police officer or committed a violent crime, you will not be eligible? Why not make that a rule?
I expect that, because I'm not one of the commissioners setting up the rules, I expect that there will be rules.
You're appointing 4 of the 5 members, aren't you, Mr. Attorney General?
Pardon me?
You're appointing 4 of the 5 members.
I am appointing all 5 members.
You can certainly set up the rules. I would hope you would make a rule that anyone convicted of assaulting a police officer or a violent crime is simply not eligible. They should not apply.
Well,
let me ask you this, because you compared it to the Keepsiegel case. But I think you know full well that in that case, the settlement agreement was approved by a federal judge, including the payments to people who were not originally parties to the lawsuit. No federal judge has approved this fund, have they, Mr. Attorney General?
No, no federal judge did approve this.
So that's a big difference between this case and the case that you compared it to.
No, it's not.
And right on cue, Democrats like Senator Blumenthal in the Senate and Representative Garcia and Ruben Gallego and others, they started bringing different emotions and amendments depending upon their committee. And Blumenthal, I want to bring an amendment that convicted child sex abusers are not going to be able to get any money from that fund. That was voted down by the Republicans. Remember that at the midterms. They can't even get out of their own way and say that a convicted sex abuser, because a couple of them after Jan 6 got convicted of that, would not be entitled to funds. And then we had other ones trying to block the weaponization fund altogether, voted down. See, this is what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to make political hay in real time of this weaponization fund, and they're going to spin it and staple it to each Republican who has to now justify this fund, even though they likely had nothing to do with it, as the lawsuits are about to break out. I was actually surprised that today one didn't get filed. I'm sure they're drafting it. By the time, I don't know, midweek Legal AF or Friday rolls around, I predict 2 lawsuits at least being filed in federal court in the District of Columbia to stop this fund, to stop the phony release of tax liability for Donald Trump and his family. So we've got the slush fund. And you notice there's no discussion there of the tax liability of President Trump being discharged. You know why? Because the memo came out after he was done. Coward. Post the memo after, as if you're not going to be seeing these same people again very soon, or those in the Judiciary Committee. And then it turned to Epstein. And it starts with his, I mean, listen, you could ask a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, unfortunately. If I say the words Epstein investigation, what do you think I'm referring to? I'm sure you get a pretty straight answer. But not from our Attorney General. I don't know if we have the clip. Let's play the clip.
Realm. I want to go on to the Epstein investigation. Is it closed or open?
When you say the Epstein investigation, what are you referring to, Senator?
Well, the FBI said in last year in July that it had closed the Epstein investigation. So I'm just using their words. Is it open or closed?
I don't believe the FBI said that. That's,
Well,
I mean, if you're referring,
you're head of the Department of Justice. Is the Epstein investigation open or closed?
but I guess I don't understand what Epstein investigation means. The investigation
Well, let me put it
into Jeffrey
differently.
Epstein himself, yes, he's dead. Any investigation into potential other bad guys will always be open if we have evidence that supports in any way, shape, or form that we can make a case.
Okay, so Trump said in November, this was after the FBI, and it was the FBI words when they said the investigation was closed. But what Trump wrote in November of last year, I'll be asking the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots, the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationships with, and he gave a specific list, Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, people at J.P. Morgan, and many other people to determine what was going on. Is there a list particularly targeted at Democrats as opposed to being, if you will, blind to party affiliation, investigations that are being pursued under your direction?
Any investigation, no matter Republican, Democrat, man, woman, old, young, any investigation will be open if the Department of Justice and the FBI have evidence that a crime's been committed. And that doesn't, I mean, you're talking about Epstein.
You commit to pursue regardless of political affiliation?
Excuse me, Senator?
You commit to pursuing investigations free of prejudice about party affiliation?
Of course, yes.
Well, you say of course, but this president has repeatedly spoken of an enemies list that he wants to go after. And I must say, it's one of the symbols of the breakdown of a democratic republic when a president uses his Department of Justice, which you now head, to go after his perceived political enemies. I hope you won't be party to that. Thank you.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's why what happened during the Biden administration was so disgusting.
So let's stop right there. Because this is a question. When I get like Jamie Raskin back or Blumenthal back, I want to give them a question. Because it never gets asked, and it's very logical to me. If I had Todd Blanche under cross-examination, I would say to him, suppose for a minute, Mr. Blanche, that instead of a Trump losing and Biden winning, it was reversed. Everything that happened on Jan 6th in this alternate universe that I'm describing, Mr. Blanche, just assume that it was Mr. Biden at the Ellipse giving a speech, Mr. Biden in the dining room during the attack, Biden supporters attacking the building, Biden supporters coming with handmade or makeshift weapons, Biden supporters trying to get through the speaker's hallway to get to the chamber to attack members of Congress on Jan 6th. That's my hypothetical. And with that, tell me what if you were the head of the Department of Justice and the FBI, would have done under that scenario. Are you telling the American people that you would turn a blind eye, that you would look the other way, that you would deny what your eyes told you was on closed circuit television, on video, on GoPro and social media posts by the assailants themselves? You would look past people who defecated literally in the seat of our democracy with guillotines, calling for the head of Nancy Pelosi, and you would give them all a pass. And you would not investigate that at all. Is that what you're telling the American people? And let's see what Todd Blanche says to that. Because I don't understand what they thought the Biden Department of Justice and FBI was supposed to do. They were supposed to just ignore it because people lost their heads in the heat of the moment. People lose their heads in the heat of the moment all the time. You go to a ball game, you throw a beer can on the field, you are taken away and you're probably losing your right to ever see a baseball game again. The Washington Nationals game in baseball, staying on my theme, somebody pulled out a white supremacist flag advertising some white supremacist website. This is right around the time the mosque was hit in San Diego. They're banned for life from that. And so when you see the video and you remember what happened on Jan 6th, his Department of Justice and FBI would turn a blind eye. That's a lie. And then to make the Epstein, back to Epstein for a minute. I don't know if we have this clip, or maybe we just played it. to put it back on the backs of the victims, to re-report their the abuse on them as a condition for investigating. There are 3 million pages that were disclosed. They are around America right now in the Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Library, coming to your town soon. It's in Tribeca, New York right now. The Trumposium, the Trumpsonian is about to open in Washington with those papers as well. And there's 3 million or more pages that were not disclosed, including additional documents that are in the executive branch that were never disclosed. And people that have looked at it have said there are hundreds of names and they're not doing a darn thing. They put the onus on the victim. Melania Trump, I'm not going to do her accent, although I'd love to. They need to come and be sworn in, congressional record, and give testimony. Why? What rape victim has to go to Congress and give congressional testimony in order to obtain justice? But when you have a feckless guy like Todd Blanche that's busy blowing kisses to his boss, I mean, he literally 2 weeks ago said, I love the man. I love him. I told people on one of my hot takes, I thought I was watching Marilyn Monroe in that dress, blowing kisses to JFK for his birthday at Madison Square Garden. I was like, you love the man? I mean, he needs to resign. Is there any other way to put it? And justice needs to be done for the Epstein victims. Speaking of a victim compensation fund, here's a great idea for a president so close to child sex predators. Why don't you set up a victim compensation fund for the Epstein survivors? How about that? Do they get to apply? Because they don't technically fit the definition of the anti-weaponization of the Department of Justice. How is anything that I've described today weaponization of the Department of Justice? Sounds like the Department of Justice under Biden doing their job, including prosecuting and convicting his own son. Sure, he got a pardon. Who out there is so heartless you wouldn't give Hunter Biden a pardon if it was your son? But at least he got convicted. He didn't step in before that. So we're going to talk about a lot. You're on the intersection. I'm on a rant. Sorry about that. I got some questions. Let me answer a couple of questions, and then we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about so much more stuff. Rockin' Hopkins says, if Massey lost, how effed are we? I don't think it's a bad sign. You heard my thing. It strengthens the Democratic hand for the general election. Right? I'll put it that way. Josh Sumter, can you explain the addendum for the settlement? I think I did. A couple of people asked that question. Will we, let's see, Lean, maybe getting your name wrong. Lean Lynn, will we be able to reverse all the damage that Trump has done to our country? There's some that we're not going to be able to. A lot we will. For every executive order, there's a democratically led congressional bill or statute that'll be the antidote for it. But things like the Supreme Court and the precedent that's been established by the Supreme Court, it's very hard. We got to win the Senate. We got to block Donald Trump from putting on two 40-year-olds to replace Alito and Thomas and put into cement, trap and amber the alt-right wing of the Supreme Court for another 20 or 30 years. Got to do that. So there's many things that we can heal. Our global relationships, our trade issues, the economy, the social safety net, in the uninsured problem, the Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security problem, the debt and deficit problem, many things, the policies of going after the underprivileged and the fragile, like transgender people, gay people, women's rights issues. There's things that can be fixed. Federal law in favor of a woman's right to choose. Stop the inhumane migration policy. Stop the attack on free press and the First Amendment. Take your pick. If any one of those things motivates you and mobilizes you to vote, all the better. And I got some other questions too. Somebody asked, this is a good one. Same person, Lean Lin. Will the families of Renee Good and Alex Preddy be eligible for a share? Not as it's defined. They weren't the victim of weaponization under Joe Biden. They're just going to have to sue the government the old-fashioned way. And the worst part of it is who's behind all of this. The mastermind of the slush fund appears to be a guy named Mark McCluskey. Remember him? Gun-toting lawyer in St. Louis with his wife out in front of his mansion, menacing and brandishing his weapon in front of Black Lives Matter peaceful protesters. Remember that guy? Lost his law license until he got pardoned. He represents like half the Jan 6ers who are seeking civil damages. Why? Because you get attorney's fees. Woo! I understand. I get you. We're going to take a quick break. So many different ways to support what we do on Legal AF and on Midas and on The Intersection. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is the Webby Award for the Best New Podcast, People's Voice Award. We got that because of you. And I spend my day, literally, either on Legal AF YouTube channel. That's a great way to support what we do. 12 new videos a day. Come over there, hit the subscribe button. You might think, I think I'm subscribed, Popok. I don't think you are. Because we've got several million people that have told me they're subscribed. And we got to get out of the 1.12 million threshold. We're trying to get to 2 million quick. With your help, we will. It's all free. Just go over and see if you'll know if you're not. If you're not, hit the button. If you are, thank you for doing it. We got Legal AF Substack, a whole nother ecosystem. So interesting. And it's interesting how many people I meet who don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about Substack. Go to Substack, put in your favorite hobby, interest, whatever, and you'll pull up somebody writing, talking about it. And we do it better than anybody, I think, or as good as anybody on Legal AF Substack. We post all of these. Look, this is just, let me just show you something. These are my resources for today of court filings, settlement agreements, briefs, orders of the court, Department of Justice memos, transcripts. That's one day. And I post it on Legal AF Substack for paid members to read under Filings AF. I do a live every day around 12:30 Eastern time on Substack Live. For paid members, we have talkbacks. Some of them are in the chat tonight. If you're in the chat tonight and you've joined me for the Substack Lives in chat, and you're here also tonight, put a wave emoji. Put a wave emoji, and we'll try to figure out how many people are there. And then, of course, we've got our, I do work on Midas, of course, and videos that go up on Midas. And then we've got our intersection advertisers, sponsors, curated by Jordy and me. In fact, I was on with Substack Live today, and right when I was there, Jordy popped up. And I said, I'll put him on speaker. I said, don't say anything bad. I got the entire live audience with me. He's like, hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. I was going to talk to you about a sponsor issue. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Just to show you, we really do talk to each other. Yes, we do. Ben's birthday. That was big. That was big. He's catching up to me. Another 4 or 5 years, we roll reverse. And there we are. I think I don't know how old he is. I think he's got a 4 in his birthday now, in the beginning. So help support this show. Keep the lights on, keep the engine rolling, keep the gas in the tank by supporting our sponsors. And here's our sponsors. In my line of work, the discovery process is everything. But there's a form of discovery happening to you every day that you never consented to. Right now, your personal records, home address, phone number, and even relatives' names are being discovered, packaged, and sold by an unregulated industry of data brokers. This isn't just about privacy, it's about security. This data is the primary fuel for the identity theft and sophisticated scams we see dominating the headlines. That is why I've partnered with Incogni. Think of Incogni as your personal privacy advocate. Instead of you spending dozens of hours navigating the labyrinth opt-out processes that these brokers intentionally make difficult, Incogni handles the legal work of demanding your information be removed. They initiate the request and follow up to ensure those brokers actually comply with the law. What really sets them apart is their unlimited plan, which features custom removals. This is for those hard to scrub sites that fall outside the standard lists, like old news portals, random blogs, or sketchy directories. If you find your info somewhere it shouldn't be, you simply send Incogni the link. Their team of privacy experts then handles the manual takedown for you, start to finish. I've used this service myself, and the continuous monitoring in the background is the only way to ensure that once your data is gone, it stays gone. Take control of your personal data risk-free for 30 days. Go to incogni.com/truth and use code TRUTH to get 60% off an annual plan. It's time to take your data off the market before it's used against you with code TRUTH at incogni.com/truth to reclaim your privacy today. Starting something new can be exciting, but also terrifying. When I first started this podcast and YouTube channel, I kept thinking, what if nobody listens or watches? What if this doesn't work out? Those doubts are real. But taking that leap ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made. And it helps when you have a partner like Shopify on your side to help. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand's style. Shopify is also packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Plus, Shopify helps you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And if you ever get stuck, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 customer support is always around to share advice. It's time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/intersection. Go to shopify.com/intersection. That's shopify.com/intersection. And we are back. All right, I got some election results. Looks like Keisha Lance Bottoms it looks pretty good in the maybe to run for governor there. Massey lost, but I think the right Democrats are winning. You know, I think we're going to do well in aspects of Georgia. Georgia's already reporting certain technical difficulties in their voting. It's like, oh, do they have to? Do they have to do it tonight? But as I said, there is Democratic strategists are convinced that the harder right MAGA is the Republican Party is forced to go out of fealty to Donald Trump, the better it is in the general election for the Democrats. Because we'll have team crazy over here and team, I can vote for that person over here. And that's what you need, you know, with a fair amount of people sitting out another election at the midterms. As part of the economic abuse that Donald Trump is heaping on America, both his economic policies and his theft from the Treasury for his personal gain, you also have the reporting about stock trades. I don't know, for anybody that has a 401k or has some stocks, how many trades do you think you made or somebody made on your behalf if you're lucky enough to have stock? Let's just say a 3-month period starting in January. How many? 10? 3? None? How about 4,000? And that's how many Donald Trump's multiple stock positions, that's how many trades were. And it's always in companies that he embraces, abuses, you know, selling the ones he abuses, buying the ones that he embraces or puts on the plane to China. And the cover up for that is he's not involved. There's independent people buying and selling. Right, but it's not blind. He knows what's in his portfolio. So he can make a comment like, how's Microsoft doing today? I want to buy it. So I want the price to go down. Now I'm going to say a shitty thing about Microsoft. And he says a shitty thing about Microsoft. Or I just bought this other stock. I bought NVIDIA. I need NVIDIA to go up. I'm going to announce a deal with China. That's called front running. You know there's information coming that you can benefit from, and lo and behold, it comes. So just like Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, has left control of his family office at Cantor Fitzgerald to his 2 late 20-year-old sons who don't get any insider knowledge from their father. Same thing with Trump. It's the people that are making the trades that know how daddy thinks. And they read the paper. They're like, oh, Trump's big on Boeing today. We should buy Boeing. Oh, Trump's got, who's on the plane? Oh, we should short all that stock. Or, these are people, these are analysts that are pouring over. They have an AI computer. They just feed in all of Donald Trump's bullshit social media posts and all of his erratic thinking and his comments and his court and his appearances on television. And they go, okay, based on this crazy man, who should we buy and sell? And the AI spits it out like that. It's a version of that. I'm simplifying it, but ever so slightly. And he's making a mint because he didn't put all of his things in a blind. He didn't put anything in a blind trust. Eric Trump's running around selling the Trump flag. We're going to be building a new luxury Trump hotel in Georgia, not the state, the country. Where's daddy doing diplomacy next? That's where we're going to put a big giant hotel casino. Who's going to stop him? And here in the States, it'll be lawsuits. A couple of things we're following, of course, the case to stop the Trump library. I've got some lawyers coming on to talk about that. Speaking of the election night, Josh Shapiro, Governor Shapiro, looks like he's riding in to an easy night to be the Democratic candidate, of course, for the governorship of Pennsylvania. And I'm going to be having Josh Shapiro on with me on Thursday for an interview, Governor Shapiro, and then, of course, on Legal AF, and then for the rest of the wider audience. And he's on right now. I think I'm counter-programming him. He's got a speech, maybe an acceptance. Nope, I'm being told by my producers, not yet. He's waiting until he officially wins. Okay, good. We'll be off by then. I was a little worried. I was like, am I competing with Josh Shapiro? It's the law and politics intersection. Shit happens. So that's where we are with that. Stock trades. Nobody believes that that's being done properly. Kash Patel. Let's go back to Kash Patel and his being on thin ice. You remember 2 weeks ago, the same guy, Senator Van Hollen, grilling Todd Blanche, started grilling Kash Patel about the Atlantic article sourced with 20 anonymous inside and outside corroborating intel witnesses, who gave the reporter for the Atlantic, Sarah Fitzpatrick, the information she needed to say that Patel's got an excessive drinking problem. He's got an incapacitation problem and the rest. So he goes on with Van Hollen and they get into it, right? Oh, Adam just reminded me he ran unopposed. All right, well, then he should give a speech, Shapiro, if he ran unopposed. He's doing a great job. He's gliding in. He's got to get reelected. In any event, so Patel and I don't know if while I'm tap dancing here, my producer can find the clip of Van Hollen v. Patel. But Van Hollen says to him that, are you willing to take the written sobriety test known as the audit about your alcohol use for the American people? Yes or no? And Patel gets quickly cornered and says, I'll take it if you take it, because as between the two of us, only one person ran up a $7,000 bar tab, which is a lie. It's a $7,000 dinner tab with 50 people. Patel must be thinking about his own bar tab. And he says, well, you take it, I'll take it. Remember that? Do we have that clip? Let me know. And 2 days later, Senator Van Hollen, that's good. 2 days later, Senator Van Hollen took the test and posted it to his social media. And he said, I took it. Go ahead. Your move. And Patel's never going to take that test because this is always going to hang over him, this cloud that he is, as Van Hollen said, you are incapacitated during long stretches, which undermines our national security. And then, Patel decided if he looks unhinged and not really sober during his debate with Van Hollen, that may help him. And that didn't go over well. But I love that Van Hollen's staff and him had him take the test immediately and then challenge Patel and do a throwdown. Now your turn. Let me turn as we wrap up the show to two last topics. One, Iran, and the other one, some justice being done in the world of the ICE attacks on Americans and otherwise, which are now entering the courtrooms. So let me just give you this to hold on to for Iran, because I know every minute and every day you're getting whipsawed and whiplashed by Donald Trump. We are close to a settlement. We're not close. The war is about to end. If the war doesn't end soon, I'm going to start bombing. The storm is coming. The calm before the storm before the calm. The strait's open. The strait's closed. The strait's partially open. We don't care. We need to get rid of terrorism. We need to get rid of the regime. We need to get rid of the nukes. Remember all that list? The justifications for becoming a wartime president to cover up for a failing domestic policy administration. Remember all that? I thought that's why we bombed the crap out of 2 out of 3 of the nuclear facilities for Iran in the summer, was to set them back to the Stone Ages. Apparently, the initial intel was right. We set them back 90 days. So all Trump is going to get now, and you can see him already whittling down the expectations, managing expectations of what a settlement, an end, or a cessation of the war looks like, and a win for the United States looks like. At the top of the war, we're going to do 60,000 bombing sorties. We're going to bomb the regime out of existence. Regime change for 90 million people. We can't negotiate with barbarians. We're going to stop the exporting of terrorism, stop proxy wars against our friends and allies in the Middle East. We're going to stop them from getting the nukes. Remember that long list, 15-point list, most of which is bullshit? Mark my words. It's going to come down to one thing, and it's going to look exactly like what Barack Hussein Obama did during his administration, which was inspection of the nuclear arsenal, labs, enrichment of uranium, and that's it. It's just going to be, and that's why you see him every time Trump now is talking about something. I don't care about the American people. I don't care about gas prices. I don't care. You need to pay more because we need to stop the threat of nuclear weapons in Iran. I'll be in my bunker. And that's all he's going to do. The exact same treaty that he pulled out of, that he shit all over, that Barack Obama entered, he's going to basically be begging for the same thing, and that's it, with one difference. Obama didn't have to spend trillions of dollars to rebuild Iran. And Donald Trump and the American suckers who supported him are going to have to, along with the rest of us. Because it's going to be forget this $1 billion weaponization slush fund. It pales in comparison. It won't even be folding money. It won't even be a rounding error in the amount that we're going to have to contribute to rebuild Iran, and the sanctions we're going to have to lift, and the terrorism we're going to have to look the other way on, and the Strait of Hormuz that's going to be in complete control of the Iranians, because people have learned a number of things about Donald Trump. He always chickens out, taco, sometimes on Tuesday. And if you're a world leader and his enemy, you can come out stronger after you tussle and stand up to Donald Trump. President Xi in China, who's stronger? Who's stronger after that 2-day visit? Xi or Trump? The Iranian regime, whatever it is, the Iranian National Guard. Who's stronger today? Who has proven to the world that they, with a bunch of $50 drones, can reach a stalemate with the great power, the great Satan, United States of America? That's all you got to do. Just stand up to the guy. And all of our enemies are watching. North Korea? Interesting. Right? Russia? Russia came out stronger after that Alaska visit. Because Donald Trump doesn't do diplomacy. Donald Trump doesn't manage expectations. He says, this will be the greatest peace conference. We'll obtain, I've 10 wars. Nigeria, 10 wars now. And then when we see nothing is accomplished, and more importantly, our enemies see, forget the press, forget Truth Social, our enemies see that nothing's been accomplished. Yeah. Okay. That was my global AF intersection moment. And then finally, some good news. The Hennepin County attorney who works under the Attorney General Keith Ellison in Minnesota, Minneapolis is in Hennepin County, has brought her second indictment against ICE officers, federal officers, for assault or other crimes while they were doing allegedly their job. That's a big deal because the rubber meets the road when the state prosecutes the feds. And he'll try to take that. They'll all try to take their cases over to federal court, try to get a federal judge to grant them federal immunity. But this is what needs to be done. And her office is also investigating the assassination of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And she's just the prosecutor. I think her name is, I want to say Mary Moriarty. She's just the prosecutor to do it. Because the state and the states and the attorneys general and the county prosecutors and the district attorneys have to do the job that this feckless, captured, corrupted Department of Justice doesn't do and won't do. She's prosecuting a case now for two guys who lied to a federal judge about being attacked with a shovel and being attacked with a broom before they shot through a closed door, not caring recklessly who was on the other side. A bullet passed through a child's bedroom, shot the plaintiff or the person in the leg, could have been in the neck or the head, because they were executing a search warrant, and then lied about it. We were attacked first until video came out that showed that was untrue. Even then, the FBI, the feds are not prosecuting them. What does it take? What does it take? And there's also a new ruling, and I'm going to get the American Civil Liberties Union, some of our collaborators on Legal AF on in the next day or so to talk about a new rule by the chief judge in the Southern District of New York Federal Court, that's Manhattan, that does not allow ICE to conduct within a block radius, and certainly not in the courtroom, any ICE removal or arrest protocol or procedures in and around the multiple federal courts of Lower Manhattan. It's a 12-page decision. I'll cover it in more detail with the American Civil Liberties Union when they join me to talk about it. But this is now phase 2. Phase 1 was Trump is sending in the troops to crush Americans. American versus American. Phase 2 is the lawsuits, civil rights lawsuits, and other lawsuits and or prosecutions by states of the federal officers involved. And we're following that as well. I mean, if it makes you feel better, it should. There are 10,000 plus lawsuits brought in what's called writs of habeas corpus by individuals who have been thrown into jail cells without due process. And they've won over 90% of those cases. If you're wondering what your local federal judge or magistrate judge does every day under the Trump administration, it's a big part of their workload, their caseload. That's separate from the couple of thousand lawsuits. I mean, I'm going to win a bet with myself. I didn't want to win. I said before the end of the Trump administration this time, there would be at least 4 times more suits. There were 1,000 lawsuits in the first administration. 4,000? I'm going to up my number. 6,000 suits against the Trump administration for its policies and its unconstitutional rogue behavior, separate and apart from the individual lawsuits that I just talked about. See, that's where this audience and me, this is where we live or die to protect, wait for it, ka-ching, no kidding, the Constitution, to protect the rule of law, to reinstall the guardrails around our democracy. Because the democracy demands it. You know, the Democrats and the democracy, of course, demand it. I see the democracy as a living, breathing thing that we need to protect and nourish and support. And the way, the antidote to Trump, the common Trump, is voting. And we'll do it together. So glad you're here on the intersection. It's my personal jam, my solo ride, although sometimes I have guests here on the Midas Touch Network. Take a minute, hit the free subscribe button here. Come over to Legal AF YouTube channel. Oh, we need your help. We need your help. You might think you're subscribed. I don't think so. Come over to Legal AF YouTube channel right now. Hit the subscribe button. You'll get 12 videos a day. Shorts, got about 10 shorts up a day. Community postings. It's a great environment. It's for everybody here that enjoys this and my work. I do 4 or 5 videos a day. Come over to Legal AF, the Substack. I do a live report. And by the way, thank you. I saw a lot of purple wavy hand emojis in the chat tonight showing that they were on my live today and ended up back here live for the intersection, which I appreciate as well. And then support, all the things in our universe. The Legal AF podcast, which is on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time here on the Midas Touch Network. And a new chapter of Legal AF we call Monday Night Live on, like it sounds, 5 p.m. Eastern time. We might move that time around a little bit. But right now, 5 p.m. Eastern time on the Legal AF YouTube channel, hosted by Dina Dahl and Lisa Graves. And it's all that. So tomorrow night, I'm on. Actually, Karen Freeman McNiffalo is away. I got Dina Dahl joining me for the midweek edition of Legal AF Saturday with Ben Meiselas. And then, of course, you'll see me on Midas and on Legal AF YouTube channel. Thank you again for all that you do for us. And until my next report, shout out to the Midas Mighty, to the Legal AFers, and to the intersectionists. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.